He teaches about global matters, global sustainability, global health, world religions to middle schoolers. A lot of people would think that middle schoolers wouldn't be interested in that. Well, just listen to Ben Wheeler and you know that they are. The World Citizen, well, it's the World Affairs Council annual celebration is going to be May the 3rd this year at Mohi. The World Citizen, Bill Stafford, will be recognized, as well as our World Educator, Ben Wheeler. Go to the website, world-affairs.org, and you will find out more information. Let's continue on with more of our global studies, because let's talk about global sustainability. Something that, and a great graphic there about global sustainability, where we are holding up the earth. But there's been some recent publications with regard to just what sustainability is, and some of this is from a business point of view. So let's just kind of go to what the global drivers are, the global drivers of consumption. Mm-hmm. What about consumption do you talk about in terms of sustainability?
It's a great subject, because kids love stuff. They love their stuff, whether it's their iPod or their clothes, and they love their food. So we do a big unit on food and water before we turn to the world of products. So the kids read a good part of a fast food nation. You know, they're big fast food consumers, and they're obviously targeted by the fast food industry. So they learn, well, what's in it and how's it grown. And of course, there's a whole new generation of food-related books with Michael Pollan and the Omnivore's Dilemma. So there's lots of good ways to go with food for increasing their understanding of food consumption and what a big impact it is. And most of our water on the planet, 70% goes to food. It doesn't go to me drinking or to us fueling industry or to our bathtubs. It goes to agriculture.
Do you find that middle school students become activists as a result of what they learn?
Well, we try to take it close to home and small. So this year we have an annual theme at our school, and it's usually related to sustainability, and we try to teach to it across the different subject areas. We try to integrate around the theme. This year's theme is enough, question mark, or enough, exclamation mark. And so after studying enough in our lives, looking at food, products, friendships, exercise, all sorts of quality of life indicators, and this also went home. These are dinner table conversations too with the family. The kids made vows to get less of something or more of something. And many of those vows, of course, were around their stuff or their food.
What were some of them?
One kid didn't have enough socks. He needed to get more socks. One kid had too many iPods. I mean, imagine that, you know, in a world where many people don't have electricity or running water. With multiple iPods, because the generations come out so quickly.
Yes.
So all sorts of really interesting things. More exercise, less TV time.
Interesting. Other things is global consumption patterns and impacts. The Earth's ecosystem, 60% of the Earth's ecosystem services have been degraded in the past 50 years. And the supply of energy and material resources needed for industrial growth is expected to rise to 170% of the Earth's biocapacity by 2040. That's pretty scary stuff. Does that mean we're on the path to extinction?
I think the big drivers are going to be population. We need to stabilize population. We do need to get a grip on our ecosystems of the planet, because that's what sustains us. You know, we live at a distance from it, because most of us in the developed world, we don't raise the crops. We don't see the water. We just turn on the faucet, or we go to the grocery store. But we have to save our topsoils. We have to make sure that water supplies are not depleted, especially the ones which are slowly renewed, like aquifers, because they don't come back right away. And then, of course, the big drivers for some of the things like glacial snowmelt is global warming. And when you lose those, it's gone.
When you talk about making changes, lots of it are cultural changes that have to be made. And we here in the United States would love for these cultural changes to be made by others. But specifically, we have someone who is actually tied in with public exposure, and he's gone to Afghanistan many, many times. He is convinced that it's not about religion, it's not about anything other than power. And what is happening is that the American way of life is a threat to the power that men have in their society. Now, is that something that you talk about? Is that something, I mean, again, that's just his opinion, but I happen to share that opinion.
Yeah, we go into that via the perspective of development work, because it's a clear truth in the development world now that increasingly development efforts are focusing on women, because people who work in development have realized that the money is better spent, that a woman is likely to leverage greater change because she's closer to the kids, she may be more likely to spend the money on a good investment in the family, such as education or health care. And this goes for micro enterprise as well. So things like the Grameen Bank, where the vast majority of those micro loans are for women.
Yes. Another factor, it was number 4 actually, it was the role of business, mainstreaming sustainable consumption. There are a lot of businesses out there that are responsible, and yet there are probably others who are not. How do you integrate business in an appropriate way? And I'm not sure what appropriate is.
Well, my 8th graders actually study corporate social responsibility, so that they know what a stakeholder is versus a stockholder. And we talk about that, that can corporations be asked to be responsible to stakeholders as well as stockholders, because they may affect many more people than the number of people who own shares in their company. So they're aware with those kinds of levers, things like the Natural Step. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, that's a large nonprofit that consults with Starbucks and all sorts of corporations to try to reduce their footprint, their ecological footprint, and try to conduct their business in a way that's good for the environment and for the people. It's sort of the gold standard.
We have 3 minutes left, and there's 2 things I want to get to.
Sure.
But one of them is well, there's several things I want to get to. One of them is about parents. Do you ever have parents say, Mr. Wheeler, we love you, but this isn't important?
I think it's more like sex ed. Parents are so glad that we teach sex ed as a part of health and different classes, because maybe they're not sure how to do it themselves, or they want some help, they want a partner in that. I find it's exactly the same with global issues. They know it's out there. They may be uncertain about what to do about it, but they may also have some fear, and they're very, very grateful for this conversation to be happening in our school and also with the home. As much as possible, I try to get the work going home.
Did some research on you, and you conducted or had a presentation at an education workshop that was really, really interesting. And it was about why do societies thrive, survive, or fail, a history as our guide to a sustainable future, environmental ethics through biography. That sounds so interesting. Can I go back to middle school and take this?
6th grade? What's your
I'm happy
favorite?
to do it. 6th grade, I'll just sit there. I promise I won't say a word. But tell me about this. What was this presentation about?
Well, actually, the 6th graders, I've tried to frame the civilizations class around Jared Diamond's book, Collapse. You may also be familiar with Guns, Germs, and Steel. His work really looks at the big trends in history and civilization, and he tries to figure out what are the things that tend to cause civilizations to collapse. And they are climate change, previously naturally caused and currently human-induced. They are resource depletion, which ties very closely in with population, hostile neighbors, and then friendly neighbors, trade neighbors who might go away. And the interesting thing about teaching these factors is that they're still true today. They're the same things that threaten us today. Resource depletion, population, climate change, hostile neighbors, friendly neighbors who were trade partners who maybe no longer will be, or trade competition.
So to a large extent, it was probably some of the same things that were talked about before the United States was the United States.
Except the difference is we know it's coming now. When we look at the challenges of 2050 bottleneck and population and climate change. Previously, civilizations that have failed that Jared Diamond looks at, they didn't know it. They didn't see it coming typically. It just happened to them. So we have the great perspective of information.
In the 30 seconds or so that we have left, if there's one thing that you would like to teach as part of your global curriculum that you don't, what would that be?
Oh my goodness, I think I would like to go deeper into sustainable design, a very exciting field of how do you design the built world, the human-built world, so products and services, so that they do not deplete the earth.
Well, if I were a betting person, I would bet that would be part of the curriculum at Explorer West Middle School pretty soon. So in any event, thank you very much for being with us. The name of the book, by the way, is It's All Connected, but what this really is about is Ben Wheeler, the World Affairs Council's World Educator of the Year 2010. Go to the website, world-affairs.org. You're going to learn a lot more. We'll see you right here on Public Exposure next week. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.